Let me tell you a bit about Jeff Strand. At least a little bit I know. Jeff writes horror stories. He's been a Bram Stoker Award winner, a big deal in the horror realm. I'm sure he was glad that King Kuntz and Straub didn't have anything out that year. He's written over 50 books that you should check out at his website. I got to know Jeff by getting a free audiobook of Cyclops Road. Yeah, I know, seems cheesy to be mooching free codes for audiobooks, but I'm so glad I did. Cyclops Road was weird in all the right ways. I wasn't sure what was going on and kept getting further and further into the story. This wasn't anything like other horror books I've read. Instead of dread and horror dripping on every page, this one was very tongue in cheek and humorous. I think of most of his books as adult goosebumps. I needed to find more, and find more I did. How about Wolf Hunt with George and Lou? Couple of mob guys, a bit Laurel and Hardy here, that get stuck transporting a werewolf across country. Luckily, there were two more books in this series because I couldn't get enough. I needed more and more. When I looked up information on Jeff, much to his chagrin, I'm sure, I found out that not only were we born 2 days apart, but he lived part of his younger days in Kent, Ohio, minutes from me. It was destiny. That all brings me to the Haunted Forest Tour, which is co written with James Moore. A ridiculous romp through monsters galore. Scary woods appear like magic. Woods are filled with all sorts of monsters. Company builds a ride to go into the forest. Makes perfect sense. Like his book, Ferocious, this one is a constant barrage of crazy monster attacks. Everything is thrown into this book. Numerous people running around getting chased, attacked, and eaten by numerous crazy monsters. And my author brain kicked in. Not every person on those trams is written about in the book. Not every possible monster is written about in this book. There are more stories to be told. This is how TV series based on movies come about. And that's what I did. I asked Jeff and James if it would be okay for me to write a fan fiction piece based on their book. Just a short story about one character that should have used the restroom before stepping foot on the ride. Something we've all experienced. What was that guy's story? That's what I wanted to write. And they both said it would be fine. Go ahead. For that, I am grateful. So, for the year 2025, my Halloween story is my fan fiction piece written after reading The Haunted Forest Tour. Note, I mainly write middle grade fiction. While some of Jeff's stories are written for that age range and are very good, you should check them out. This one is not. Parents, you know your kids and know whether they can handle such a book. There is violence and monsters killing people in the book, and also in my story, there are monsters chasing the main character through the woods. If that would frighten your child, please check out my other Halloween short stories that aren't as frightening. Enjoy the adventure.
I gotta pee. Oh, I so gotta pee. I should have gone when I had the chance before this stupid Doom tour.
Poor Jeff. He'd gotten on a once-in-a-lifetime tour through the Haunted Forest, and now this. Wait, you don't know about the Haunted Forest tour? Oh, well, let me enlighten you. Several years ago, for some unknown reason, trees popped out of the ground and destroyed a New Mexico town. Poof. Trees instead of buildings. So, of course, some corporation bought the rights to run a money-making tour through the forest. Because who would be concerned about why an entire forest suddenly appeared fully formed for no known reason? Who cares? Let's take groups of tourists through it. And there you go. This year, they decided to do a special Halloween tour, and Jeff had been lucky enough to get tickets. Only now, he didn't feel so lucky. Everyone knew about the creatures inhabiting the forest. That was the reason for the tour. See amazing sights no one has ever seen before. Creatures beyond imagining. Yeah, I thought the same thing. Hello! Fierce creatures. Unknown forest. What could go wrong, right? Even though cryptozoologists had tried to catalog the creatures, no one knew much about them. And whoever thought running a train stuffed with people through the haunted forest would be a great idea was obviously an idiot. Jeff may not have thought this when he excitedly bought tickets for the tour, but when everything went sideways and the creatures attacked the train, yeah, those people were idiots was definitely one of the first thoughts Jeff had. That, and he had to pee so bad, he thought he'd burst. We've all had that happen, right? So here we are, with Jeff on the run in the haunted forest as every manner of creature pursued him for the tasty morsel he was. Jeff darted around a tree and glanced over his shoulder as he did so. No monsters in sight. Finally, he could, well, never had he been on a trip where there weren't any restroom stops. And he'd even gone on one of those bus trips that toured various cities with his mom. Of course, old people needed to stop every 10 minutes. When he boarded the tram to take his group through the haunted forest, he knew he should try one more time. Haven't we all heard that before? You'd better try because once we're on the road, we aren't stopping. But he wasn't a little kid any longer and he could wait. Stupid. Good thing his mother wasn't here now. She'd remind him that she always told him even if he didn't think he had to go, to try. And he really had to go right now.
Oh, good. Nothing followed me. Where is everyone else? Am I the only one who made it out when all those things attacked?
The bus tour had sounded fun. Jeff had wanted to see this mysterious forest that had appeared from nowhere. Maybe to check if the monsters everyone talked about were real. Well, now he knew. What a stupid thing. He might have stayed home to hand out candy to all the little trick-or-treaters. But no, let's go to real monsters. He'd give anything to be on the trip with his mother again. At least there, no one tried to eat you while you relieved yourself. As he started to unzip his pants, he turned his head, and right next to him stood a monster. Another monster. Of course, Jeff screamed so loud he thought he might actually shoot out a lung. This one wasn't as tall as the monsters which invaded the tram. It only came up to Jeff's chest, so he had to look down at it. But the height difference didn't change the fact that this creature scared Jeff. A lot. A whole lot. It was probably because of the head, which seemed to be all teeth. Several rows of very sharp teeth. A head with very sharp teeth, which ran towards Jeff before he finished circling the tree. Screaming, Jeff ducked and rolled out of the creature's way. He heard a thud as the creature slammed into the tree. Jeff stood up, prepared to fight for his life. Then he laughed. The creature stuck to the tree. All those nasty, sharp teeth were embedded in the wood.
Okay, then. Guess it's time I moseyed on out of here. There's no way I'm peeing with that thing close enough to bite things off.
The sound of his own beating heart thumped in his ears as he hurried away, so we can forgive him for not hearing the beating wings behind him. The winged thing, which may be related to a bird in some demon fantasy, slammed into Jeff's back, pitching him forward with a whoomph of expelled air. Stunned, he lay on the ground, wondering what had happened while he struggled to catch his breath. He realized he had a weight on his back, and his efforts became frantic as he tried to dislodge whatever it was.
Oh man. I can't die like this. I still have to pee.
With a burst of frenzied energy, he bucked the thing off, hurtling it into a low-hanging branch. The beastie uttered a squeal before flopping onto the ground. Jeff's eyes widened as he scanned the ugly creature before him. He did a half shuffle, half crawl away from it. His eyes shifted back and forth as he attempted to look everywhere at once. He spied what looked like a small cave between several rocks. Sprinting as fast as possible, Jeff dived for the secluded area.
Yes. Nothing will notice me. And I can finally pee.
Jeff crouched in his hiding spot, fumbling to unzip his fly, eager to relieve himself. When the low growl sounded behind him, he stopped, hoping his imagination ran wild or the sound was his belly grumbling. It wasn't. When the rocks lifted from the ground and a deeper groan sounded, he turned to find the source. The rocks were floating in the air, which he then realized weren't rocks. They were teeth. Those teeth were connected to a long, slithering being.
Giant snake. Why did it have to be snakes?
With his hand still clutching his zipper, Jeff tried to duck walk faster than any world champion duck walker had done in the history of man. And he almost achieved it. Beside him, the two rock teeth crashed down, one catching the edge of his shirt. Yanking, Jeff tried to rip the shirt to escape, but it resisted his tugging.
Figures, instead of a cheap knockoff, I wore a quality shirt. Now I'll die because I spent a few extra dollars on top-notch clothing. All I want to do is pee in peace.
Jeff tugged again and fell onto his face as the teeth lifted. Knowing they would crash down in a moment and more likely right onto and into his head, he took off like the proverbial bolt of lightning. When the teeth did indeed crash down behind him, he stumbled, but he caught himself on a stump. You know the drill by now. It wasn't a stump. Poor Jeff realized this fact when the two eyeballs opened. Most stumps don't have eyeballs. Screaming and not caring if every creature in the forest heard him, Jeff once again floundered to get away. He looked over his shoulder for the monster parade he would have sworn followed him. Jeff felt his legs tangle and thought he'd been grabbed, so he turned his gaze to see what had done the grabbing. Fortunately, it wasn't a monster. Just his pants falling down.
Well, that's just great. I'm going to either die before I pee or run around without pants. This is not my day.
With that, Jeff lay on his back, kicked his legs up, and yanked off his pants. As he stood, he realized his tighty-whities gleamed like a beacon in the forest's gloom.
Oh,
Catching movement in the corner of his sight, Jeff spied another creature that looked like a penguin, but with a wolf's head.
seriously? What happened to the Wolfman and Frankenstein? A nice vampire would be a welcome change here.
Not caring about Jeff's frantic thoughts or need to pee, the wolf-headed penguin thing charged out of the dark. Throwing the pants in its face confused the creature, and Jeff didn't waste a second in running the other way.
Pantsless. Wonderful. Can I just pee? Please. Of all the times for things to go wrong and the creatures in this forest to decide that the people on the tram would be good eating, it would be when I'm on the tour and when I have to pee.
Jeff stopped near a grouping of trees. He looked around and saw nothing. He listened and heard nothing. Well, at least not anything close. Smiling, Jeff stepped closer to a tree, preparing to relieve himself. Before he dropped his drawers, a huge, furry, centipede-like creature slithered down the tree in front of him. Jeff froze, inches from the dripping teeth. No surprise there, right? Hearing a sizzle as drops of the thick liquid hit the earth, Jeff's bladder let go.
There you go. I'm dead. But at least I finally get to... Thank you for listening to I Gotta Pee, fan fiction by SA Schneider, for the book The Haunted Forest Tour by Jeff Strand and James A. Moore. To find more of Stephen's stories, check out sa-schneider.com.